Hello and thank you for watching Off the Record TV. I'm Frankie Lane.
And I'm Stephanie Bear, and you have hit the bonus content.
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Today we have back in the studio Carm Milioto.
Yeah.
Carm, thank you for coming back and hitting our bonus content. We would like to ask you a few more questions because we just can't get enough of you. Can you tell us the difference between Carm Milioto and who you are and this Izzy Slick persona? We really want to know the difference.
Well, it's funny. The Izzy Slick thing isn't really so much about a persona as much as it is that when I was younger, I always envisioned Izzy Slick as a band name, perhaps for somebody else, but I always loved it. So in the later years when I started reaching deep to find a new creative vibe, a new outlet, I thought of the Izzy Slick project, and I thought about how it inspires me to want to think differently. So with that came a lot of different style of music and trying to take myself out of my own box and adding a little bit more flamenco style stuff and just keeping everything kind of fun, maybe sort of pop-esque, and not so straight ahead rock and serious that I'm usually used to. And that's like pretty much it. It's not really a persona thing, and it's not like I'm like a David Bowie
but you know,
Ziggy Stardust thing.
But what would be, just give us a little bit, what would be the difference between Carm Milioto and Izzy Slick?
Well, I think a lot of that's still to be determined because I'm so early in the project right now. Until the record's finally finished, all the music is done, the production's getting where it's going to be. It's going to kind of unfold and give itself, you know, to itself, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I see right now, the difference is something you just said a minute ago, is that you take yourself out of who you are and you try to become someone else or try to see it from somebody else's point of view, and maybe that's kind of, you know, the difference. Is
well, sometimes exactly, and sometimes titling things, because like the Izzy Slick to me sounds like kind of a really fresh vibe.
Right.
So by that title, I kind of feel like it lends me to always being kind of creative in that environment, to keep my mind and the music in the same place, so it doesn't stray too far from the styles, or you know, but there's so many styles. But I mean, you know, like this, the overall feeling from start to finish of that project hopefully will be one consistent vibe, right?
Right. But see, the thing too, Carm, we're not only talking about the songwriting. And you also singing and playing. You know, I'd like to actually get into the technical stuff. I mean, that's a whole different vibe. Carmen, one thing when I visited the studio that day, love that Neve board. And let's just talk about this Neve baby, this warmth, this. Where did you buy it? Firstly, how did you get it? How did it come about, Carmen?
Well, a Neve console has been, you know, a dream come true for myself and my business partner Adrian at Studio 410. Basically, I found it on Kijiji, believe it or not, and I just searched Canada-wide Neve console just for fun, and one came up literally down the street in Burlington for sale.
No way,
through a gentleman in Burlington, and we visited him. We had a look at the board. He gave us the history on it. It's a 55 series. It's an old broadcast console from the CBC Canada, so it's got a lot of miles under it. It was a 1993 model, I believe. And it's literally blown our minds and every client who comes in. Just the warmth and the vitality in the music. It's just, everything's just gone from here to beyond what I can reach.
And you purchased it, Carm, from the CBC network, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Company, correct?
Well, we didn't personally. It originated there, and the gentleman who had it between us, that sold it to us, was he had purchased it from them. Right.
Well, my next question, listen, Carm, was this in a dark alley, and you bought it out of a van, or like was this pretty much legal?
No,
because we're off the record here, Carm.
No, this is totally legal operation.
We're off the record, Carm.
The guy Craig that we got it from ran his own studio out of Burlington. He used it for a few years, but he got really busy doing other projects and had to basically just disassemble what he had, and he thought it's a shame for this board to be sitting here, so obviously it's for sale.
I mean, you pretty much answered the question. And there was a serial number, correct? There is a serial number on that board?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I mean, this is all off the record.
It's not something you can put in your back pocket.
Well, Carm, you know what? You never know. I mean, you know, because it's Hamilton and all that, all that stuff. But let's get into the preamps. The warmth of the channel strips.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's, you know, like I use a Neve when I practice in the schooling environment that I was in. So until we got this again, I kind of, you know, forgot just how unbelievably transparent everything is through these things, right? And the EQs are fantastic. Just they sweep nicely. They offer a lot of characteristics. It's something for me that again, I'm still discovering. And anytime in production, it's not something that you ever kind of finalize. You're always moving and thinking, and you know, you're trying different things like different compressors or whatnot to get sounds. Of course, it comes down to the artist. microphones you use, but really for me it's always the talent, whoever's coming in, what they have to offer and what we can capture to make sure that we're delivering the best possible capturing of what the honest representation of what these people are doing musically, right?
Right. Well, let's tap into that, Carm. I mean, we're talking about the microphone, the Telefunken, right?
Well, Telefunken is one of our mics.
yeah.
Yeah, we purchased the Telefunken AR51. It's speaking of transparent, preamps. This mic is so transparent, like not everybody can use it. I've had some clients who come in and they're just kind of like, I'll put it up for them, but they're just too freaked out by it. It has, it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on it.
Maybe like a
That's all right.
sponge, like it just sucks all the sound in, or
Is it a true sound?
It's
Carm?
a very true. It's very unforgiving. That's the
Okay, that's
Unforgiving,
that's
there
great.
we go.
very unforgiving. So it's very,
Oh.
just what you see, what you get, but it captures every little bit
Right.
of
So-
everything. So how you use the
Right.
mic and your depth with it. It's a very performance-based microphone.
Right, and
I believe.
it'd be safe to say too, Carm, if you're going to use that mic, any of you guys out there, be sure you have auto tune. Is that correct? I mean, pretty much.
Oh,
I was gonna
perhaps.
say.
Side by side, pretty much, Carm. What would you say?
I always work my best to get the best out of clients and make sure that they're always happy with what's coming out. But for sure, I just kind of grill them until we get it, rather than having to use tools to fix it up. That's just my style. Everybody's got their own taste, but that's
Right,
definitely.
exactly. But also, Carm, let's take us a walk through to your rooms that you have there.
At the studio, we
Yeah.
have 5 full-time rehearsal rooms, so bands can come in and rent it monthly. We leave their gear there, kind of like a personal apartment for bands. So it's a really cool
Amazing.
environment. A lot of good camaraderie around there between all the artists. So there's a cool
Yeah, but that's what I
community,
noticed.
really.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. It's like a collective. I
It
mean,
is.
and everybody's hanging out there. I mean, they're basically school portables converted, right? Come with heat. You've got all the equipment there. I mean,
air
it's just like
conditioning,
walking
camera
in.
monitor. The entire studio grounds is camera monitored. We have great security, but more than that, we have great people on site that
Yeah.
are always there watching out for each other and helping each other out with creative, outlets and stuff like that. We also
Right.
have 2 hourly rooms that are fully stocked with equipment that bands can come in and rent, hourly or daily or whatever it is that they prefer. And then we have the showcase stage room, which is called the Music Mill. And
Love that.
That's being used mainly for rehearsals as well as video shoots and photo shoots and stuff like that. We converted the Music Mill into a full-on recording studio when we bought the Neve console last year. So we
Wow.
built an addition onto it, and then that became our Studio A now.
Right.
Our original studio is a small little 400 square foot space in the
That's
back
where it
of
all
the property.
started,
It
Carm.
did.
That's where it all started,
That's where I
man.
cut my teeth on everything.
Exactly.
A lot of my inspirations, a lot of my first recordings, which was probably 5 records worth of music that I personally recorded with myself, a band called The Feels, Live How You Live, and again, many other local artists that we worked with out of the back studio. And then once we got the new studio set up, the production value changed so much, and I was able to do so much more with my visions and creativity as a producer, because the equipment that I was using was far superior. When I was working in the back studio, we were working with great gear,
Exactly.
but I felt like I surpassed the equipment with what I was doing, with my knowledge of the room, and
Right.
so it was only so far you could get. So once we got this new gear, it was like, okay,
Just opened up the whole
it
room.
did.
I
Now
mean,
it's
really.
like I've got to catch up again.
Right,
I have a lot
exactly.
to learn again, which is a great
Right.
place to be in. When you're learning, you're always winning. When you're
Right,
moving forward and you're
right.
trying to take things in.
Yeah, well, when I visited you, Carm, what I found pretty phenomenal, I can't remember the name of the band, Carm, but I believe that they had booked 8 hours at a very reasonable price. Where you get there is crazy. But they rehearsed for 5, Carm. Then you were gracious enough to say, let me set up some mics here. You set up the mics, and you basically did sort of a 2-3 hour recording.
That's
And then, you
amazing.
were kind enough to give these guys some tracks, which was very unexpected, I'll be honest with you. And the band was just like, wow, I mean, I can't believe this.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like we try to do what we can at the studio to help bands out, and our rates are based on what we feel is fair for us and for musicians. But again, every different project has so many different things to offer, and so you just kind of want to work with people on whatever level that they're at and what you can do. If there's something you can do to help move people forward and get them ahead, then you do it, right?
Right, exactly. No, that's all right. There's a lot of, when you walk the grounds, because it's how many acres are there? I think there's like 8, 9 acres.
I think
it's
it's up
huge.
to 10 or so. Yeah, my business partner's family owns the property. Yeah, it's really beautiful. We're based out in the country, so it's really peaceful, laid back, away from the fast-paced city life, and it really it lends itself to creativity and the serenity kind of vibe. So
right, and the beauty of it is, this is totally like Italiano. On those 10 acres at the front, there's a cheese factory.
There is.
No, really?
There is, yeah.
There's a cheese factory.
The cheese factory.
I pull in. Where am I going?
That's the landmark. Everybody's
amazing.
like, you try to tell people about how to get to where we are, and it's like, oh, we're just in behind the cheese factory. It's like, geez. Nobody really gets it, but once they get there, we're kind of hidden. It's hard to find, but when you get there and you recognize what's going on there, and you get to be a part of it all, and we welcome you into the 410 family, it's always a good vibe for everybody. So.
Right. So along with that, Carm, at the end of the session, they get a little piece of cheese, or how do you guys do that?
If they want to take a couple bucks out of their pocket and visit the front at the Outer Way Cheese Factory, they can purchase some excellent cheese.
That's great, Carm. Well, you know what, Carm? Although this whole project is totally fresh and new, we're going to call it pretty much bare bones, right? Just take us through what your vision at this point, where we are now, because I know that can always turn, can always switch. At this point, you've got these 3 songs that we featured. Where are you thinking going with
My
this?
vision with this album is completely selfish, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's an album that I thought to myself, I want to put something out that even if it never gets performed live, which it will, it's just the best music I've ever written with the best players. So I have a lot of guest players in the city that are going to be on these tracks, many different bass players, different drummers, piano players, perhaps some vocalists. I haven't got that far yet. So I just kind of wanted to be selfish with the idea of just getting, people who would be willing to be involved on the project and lend themselves to it. Hire some guys who are just way over and above what I could do on some instruments, but I have the vision of them all. I can hear it all. But when you get guys like that in the studio, you don't really want to say too much either. You want to kind of let them do their thing at times. It just depends on what your vision is. But sometimes when you hire people, it kind of is like, this is what I'm looking for, and the guys just know what's going on. And it's a really inspiring environment to be around, because I'm always about surrounding myself with people who are a little bit better than I am, so I can learn. And so that's the vision for me in a nutshell, guys. It's just basically to have an entire project of something that I'm so proud of, that is the best that I can possibly put out, and then hopefully one day I'll be able to get a production together where I can showcase it, put it out there.
To that for sure.
Everybody will dress up in strange pajamas and weird hats.
Right. No, that's cool, guys. You know what I can tell you? I can smell a Juno happening.
Whoa.
I can really smell a Juno, bro. To be honest with you, folks, just a Juno award would be the equivalent to a Grammy in Canada. Yeah, so I'm smelling that out. I'm smelling that out, Carm. What do you think?
I have no idea.
Although you're not writing it to get a Juno. Talking about looking from outside in.
That's really polite of me to say. I
say.
appreciate that. It's nice of you to say. It's a great honor to hear that. I just hope that I can continue to make great music that people will listen to, and that they can take something from, because that's what I do it for. I do it for myself, and I do it for other people around me, and if I can keep doing that for the rest of my life, then I'll be a happy guy.
Okay, that's great. Now, Carm, my last question would be, just give us a little vibe on the Canadian vibe. What are you feeling right now?
It's kind of funny. I'm there all the time, so for me, it's all I know, right?
Right. But you know what, Carm? But a lot of these groups that we've had on the show, they always talk about Canada and this rock and roll vibe. It's just like there's a buzz.
Well, Hamilton itself, which I can speak about because I'm part of that environment, is it's just booming right now. There's so much going on in Hamilton, creativity wise, with the arts. There's even an arts council being built up to help support music in the city, and it's really exciting thing to be. It's an exciting time to be a musician in Hamilton, as far as I'm concerned. And the list of names, I'm not even going to start naming one or two, because then I'll be bound to try and remember everybody in the city, because there's literally tens and tens and tens and tens of great musicians and great bands. If you haven't been around the Hamilton scene, you're out there. Search it, Hamilton bands, have a listen. You will not be disappointed.
Exactly.
And basically, the thing about Hamilton is everybody really supports each other. There's not a competitive vibe in the city. There's a person here and there, I guess, puts themselves out there that way on social media. But I think for me, it's all about being positive. There's no room for anything else but lending, a helping ear or hand to anybody around you and making things happen, because you need one another. whether it's a studio, whether it's a venue, and
Right.
whether it's a singer-songwriter, producer, it doesn't matter. Everybody leans on each other, and you can always take something from someone. You can always offer somebody something.
Well, the cool thing about you guys, I mean, it's almost like Motown Records, where you've got 3 or 4 different bands, and if one happens to be recording, and I was outside smoking, and I'd hear maybe a guitar player per se do a little riff, I'd call and say, "Guys, can you come over here for a minute?
Yeah.
Here, just lay this thing down." It's almost like a Motown.
Yeah.
It's a collective. I mean, there's like, last time there was like 20 musicians there playing. And that's pretty.
It's
pretty,
really
that's pretty
cool.
off the hook.
Well, what's really funny is, speaking of that, when I was doing the recording for Lost in the Haze, I wanted a bass line done, and my buddy Andy, who's in one of the full-time rooms, he's a fantastic musician and bass player. He popped in just to have a listen to what we got going on. He's like, "Hey, I could probably do this for you." I'm like, "Hey, man, pick it up." And he grabbed the bass, and we discussed the lines and stuff, and then he just like laid down this ridiculous bass line. And but literally just like hanging out on site, just came by, and that kind of thing is just
I mean, just off.
Priceless.
it's priceless.
Yeah,
It is
priceless.
priceless. And I feel so lucky to have great people like that on site at 410. My clients all know how much we respect them and appreciate them. And, so like being able to be a part of that is a huge blessing. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Carm, thank you so much for joining us.
my pleasure, guys. Thank you
Yeah,
guys so
great.
much.
And thank
Great.
you for joining us on Off the Record TV. I'm Stephanie Bayer.
And I'm Frankie Lane. Be sure to like this video or check out our YouTube channel, or you can check us out at
offtherecordtv.org. Also, if you'd like to be a part of our show, send your info to music@offtherecordtv.org. Thank
Ciao,
you for
ciao.
joining.
Ciao, ciao.
Take care.